Oh, I don't walk about the door. This public everybody. Cause if you ain't UPK, I ain't there about you. I got a lot on my mind and all the classes say me. So you know me, I'm first class, feeling educated. Okay, I go by my mission. Then they shouted in the world, walked to me with attention. She said she know about the school. I like my music, she listen. She said she trying to come in, but I said keep it busy. I told her shout out the water. Salam, I see her. Trying to see if she on game, if that tongue look at this. She said Salam, yeah, how was your mama? I looked out here, but I show you how it's shot. She said the real she's kind of like the fire. It's really in my mind. It's easy to be evil. Secrets inside of me. Don't let her see me wasted. Don't let her see me down. Don't let her see me breaking. Truly, I wanna do right. This was real. I should've known you was trying. That's a lot on the real. I was caught in my mind, and if you know it, you win. Gotta add it in all. Don't be afraid to take the ways. Get afraid to get down. I mean, you see how I'm saying. What's this you can buy? She said, drinking, smoking. That's something she do all the time. Homegirls ain't really shit, but they didn't never want to buy. One got too many niggas, and the other bitch buy. I said, damn. Try separating. Get educated. She said I said try harder with an exclamation. You gotta fight temptation and have some patience. You say it's boring, I like clubbing and getting hella wasted. That's the niggas that start up all of them niggas in. Once you know that gay bitch gon' try to eat your pussy. Once you know that hoe bitch gon' try to bring some niggas. And you'll fall every time. Or am I assuming? I say I'm with you, shawty. Or you with yourself. I can help you, baby, but can you help yourself? You say you know a little something, but do you believe or what? You know what says all around, put that wisdom first. She said, oh, I ought to be probably need a realist. With my Bible and hand rapping my recipe. I say no sweat, take one number down. And don't call me, I'll see you around. She's coming to the fire. It's really in her mind. It's easy to be evil. Secrets inside of me. Don't let her see me wasted. Don't let her see me down. Don't let her see me vacant. Truly, I wanna do right. Shalom, Israel, the I.S.U.P.K. started off at 1 West 125th Street. We teach black and Hispanic, and they divinity is the Bible, and they are the lost tribes of Israel. So nah. I shot open the door, I look up, see sis dressed, had to talk. Yeah, I smiled, and the rest was a rap. They gotta get inside the school to know what happened after that. Shalom.
All right, clap it up. Shalom, Israel. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And we are led by the amazing Commanding General YAHANNA. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K. Wednesday law class. So, of course, we're going to get into the law. We have any questions before we get started? No questions? All right, so today, the title of the class, as you can see, is I called it Jungle Fever is a Sin. And that goes on with the law of the Most High, that says that he's against interracial marriage. So I titled it Jungle Fever because back in the early 90s, they had this movie come out, titled Jungle Fever. All right, now Spike Lee made this movie like 2 years after the incident happened with a brother named Isupk. It's based on a true story, and this brother Isupk, he ended up, falling in love with a woman that wasn't, of his race or his nation, and throughout, I guess, the marriage or whatever, he ended up, like they both, went through a lot of things, with the families, the friends, and ultimately, give me 1 second. and ultimately, the brother was unalive. You know, we have to watch what we say now. So, and that goes along with you know, pretty much, you know, the consequences of dating outside of your race. I'm gonna explain the movie a little bit more, but first scripture I want to get to is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and start at verse 3. You know, this law is in the first 5 books of Moses, which, you know, is better known as the Torah. All right. So I'm trying to find this. All right. So, okay, you got that scripture for me?
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
All right, so the scripture says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. So what this is saying is, you know, if you're an Israelite and you have a son or you have a daughter, so if you have a son, you shouldn't approve your son marrying a woman that's not Black, Hispanic, or Native American. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, can I grab Ezra 10:10?
Huh?
I was going to ask him, can I grab Ezra chapter 10?
Not yet. Just listen to the lesson first. I know you're zealous about bringing out precepts, but you need to understand the milk of things first. All right, understand? All right. I'm gonna let you bring out some stuff. You know what I'm saying? But just this is the first scripture I brought out. You know what I'm saying? So let me do my thing. All right. So let me turn this. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, it says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them, nor thy daughter shalt thou not give to thy son, or his daughter shall you take unto thy son. So you shouldn't give your daughter to nobody else. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason for that. You know, one of the things, you know, like I was talking about this movie, Jungle Fever. Matter of fact, somebody give me the definition of jungle fever. You can just type it in Google. And I'm not looking for the definition about parasites and, you know, stuff that you, type of disease you catch in the jungle.
Attraction of a person of non-African descent towards people of African descent.
Right. Say that again a little louder.
Attraction of a person of non-African descent towards people of African descent.
Attraction of a non-African descent, you know, to a person of African descent. You know, well, of course, you know, they're using the word African, but, you know, as far as us, you know, we're not considered African. You know, we're Israelites according to blood. All right. So go ahead.
I got another definition.
It can also mean a person's preference for a sexual or romantic relationship that is interracial, especially the preference of a white person for a Black person.
Right. You know, so that sexual or that emotional attraction to another person that is not your race. You know, like one thing that our oppressors think is that all Black men have a love for their women. Like it's like what they call it, like I don't want to say aphrodisiac, but almost like a fetish or like a trophy or a prize or something to date a Caucasian woman, or vice versa. And that's really not the case. Like some people, they just like women or they just like men, to where they don't care who they sleep with. All right. In this movie, Jungle Fever, it was starred by Wesley Snipes. And, Wesley Snipes was he's a black man. And I think he was either an architect or a lawyer or something like that. He had his own office and everything. And he had a secretary, that was a white woman. And eventually, they, I can't remember, who initiated the contact or whatever, but they ended up, lusting for each other. But keep in mind that the character that Wesley Snipes played, he was married, he had a family, at home he had a black woman, black family. And keep in mind this is in the world, so in the world, you're only supposed to have one wife. So according to this, so he had an affair with his secretary, which was this Caucasian lady, and everything was cool until it hit the news media. And once it hit the news media, it spread like wildfire. So his friends ridiculed him, his friends turned against him, his family turned against him. Her family did the same thing. Her family disowned her. And one thing about our oppressors, side, and they family, that's what they do. They always, if you ever heard, I'm trying to keep my words, politically correct, since we're online and social media. But it was a Caucasian lady told me before that her dad said, once you cross that track, don't come back. And what that means is, once you go and try to, sleep with a black man, that don't come back. And that happens a lot on their side of the tracks. You know what I'm saying? They get taken, the father or the grandfather, they take them out the wheel. They can't come to family. You bet not bring that black man to the family functions because he's not welcome. And in the 90s and early on, like interracial marriage, it was still kind of fresh or still kind of, kind of different. So if you brought a white woman home as a black man back then, it was like, what are you doing? Like, no, we don't do this because why? A lot of our people were killed, dealing with that race of people, and not necessarily that they slept with them. They could have spoke to them, whistled out. Just ask Emmett Till's mother. Emmett Till, quote unquote, whistled at a white woman, and just look at the results of him. And from what I'm hearing, he had a speech impediment, so there's no telling what he was trying to do or say. But especially like in the 50s and 60s, like a lot of our men were unalived, or their lives were taken because those white women were lying on black men, saying that they took them or they abused them, anything like that. And once men of that race found out, we were lynched. So from then into the 90s, like it was still kind of, let's keep this thing. All right. So in this movie, what I'm saying, the same thing happened. The families turned against each other. Turned against the the couple. The friends did the same thing. And at the end of the movie, pretty much, it kind of went back to the norm. They broke up. Of course, Wesley Snipes, the character that he played, he had problems with his wife and his family. You know what I'm saying? For one, like we say in the world, you're only supposed to have one wife. So she believed, he cheated on her. So she wanted a divorce, of course. And so at the end of the movie, the interracial couple, they split up and they went back to their home. But just to say about this movie, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't by the design for the Most High for us to have an interracial marriage like that. That's why when we read in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3, that it's going to tell you why. You know what I'm saying? So we stopped at, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And why is that? You know what I'm saying? Keep reading for me.
Verse 4, for they will turn away thy son from following me.
They will do what?
They will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods.
Okay, so they will turn away thy son from following me. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were like, we are I'm gonna just use the word quote unquote religious people. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Like, we're religious people. So we believe in our so-called God. So when you marry or date, court, whatever you want to call it, with another nation that is not of your belief, eventually you're gonna kind of negotiate or compromise with your other half. So if you ended up marrying a Chinese person or a Japanese person, then guess what? If y'all move in together, it's gonna, we in the world now. It's gonna be a Christian cross on this wall, and there's gonna be a big fat Buddha sitting on this side. And because that's what Chinese or Japanese people, that's what they believe in, Buddha. So now you're a Christian Buddhist or a Buddhist Christian. So now you done forgot about you done forgot about the Most High saying that he's the only God and there's no other God before him. But now, you don't fully serve him. Now you've allowed a different entity into your home, acknowledging it as a God. That's a sin. That's the first commandment, right? Before you get to thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, the first commandment is what?
No, there's only one God.
No, get it for me. Exodus chapter 20.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 1.
Give me 1 second. It's Exodus chapter 20, verse 10. No, Salakia, Exodus chapter 20, verse 3.
Thou shalt not have no other gods before me.
That is the first commandment. That's on the 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. But then you get with this Asian woman, and you allowed that Buddha to sit in your house. Now you acknowledge another God besides the Most High. So now that's why this scripture says that you shouldn't marry another nation, because you're gonna turn your son away from following him. All right. And then he's gonna serve other gods, because what happens when a man marries a woman? He's gonna try to please his woman. The woman is gonna try to please her man. They're gonna take on kind of each other's culture. So just say, for instance, what's your name again, brother?
Jan.
Jan. You're a football fan, basketball fan, soccer fan.
I mean, really, I'm just more like a martial arts or UFC, MMA type. That's
Martial arts, UFC. Okay, that's your thing. So just say in your free time, or that's what you do. You go to UFC fights. You might even practice and do UFC or MMA, and you marry somebody that has nothing to do with that. They're baseball fan. Your wife is a baseball fan. So what's gonna happen? Once y'all get together, she was like, okay, well, honey, I'll support you in your MMA. So she's gonna watch your favorite fighter or whatever, buy a shirt that has your favorite fighter on it or whatever. She's gonna go to the events with you. She's gonna accept the things that you like, and then you're gonna start going to baseball games. You're gonna buy her favorite player's jersey. You're gonna start wearing Astros jerseys. And when I'm talking about sports, there's nothing wrong with that. But when we're talking about taking on the things that your wife or your husband does, that's what you do. You take on some of the things that they do, just to compromise. You want to learn and do more things like her, and she want to do the same to you. So, but with religious practices, it's a problem because blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we have a God that's very jealous. All right, and like we read in Exodus, there should be no other God before us. So, keep reading the rest of that.
Exodus 3.
Right.
you shall not make for yourself an image in a
No. Deuteronomy chapter 7, the end of verse 4.
chapter 7, verse 4.
And start as soul, will, and anger.
You gotta get it.
Deuteronomy 7, verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods.
Right. So, so if you marry a Muslim woman, what's gonna happen? You're gonna end up going to the mosque, or you're gonna end up going to Mecca and dancing around that rock like they do. She's gonna go to a church with you and tap dance and scream and shout and hoop and holler. All right. So keep reading.
So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against thee, and destroy thee suddenly.
Now, why is the anger of the Lord going to be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly?
Because he's a jealous God.
Because he's a jealous God, and you wouldn't recognize God as the creator of everything, right? But you're gonna worship and serve something else. Just like how we did in the wilderness when the Most High led us out of Egypt. We was, thank you, God, thank you, Lord, for leading us out of captivity, leaving us out of slavery. And then moments after that, hey man, we need something to worship. We in this wilderness, we need something where everybody put their gold together, and let's make this golden bull. Because that golden bull that they had in Egypt that they used to worship, make us worship. Yeah, let's make that golden calf. So they made this big golden calf in the wilderness, and they danced around and praising, sacrificing to it and everything. Moses in Mount Sinai, he talking to the Lord. So while Moses is gone, they down there turning up, worshiping other things, worshiping those other cultures that they learned when we was in captivity. That's the thing that we do now. When we're in captivity now, we worship and take on the customs of these other of these other nations. Like Thanksgiving that's coming up. Like for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to celebrate Thanksgiving is a slap in the face to your own people. Because if you call yourself, a lot of Black people, I got Indian in my family, or I got, I got Cherokee and, all this and that, whatever have you, but you're celebrating the abuse, the life taking, and the stealing of your own people. I gotta watch my words. All right. So what happened with the Native Indians? Their lives were taken, and you call yourself or have ancestors that were so-called Native Indian, and you celebrate by eating turkey and dressing, which was a war victory for our oppressors, our enemies, and you celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a slap in the face to your own people. Like now, what just happened? September 11th, 9/11. They tell us to forget slavery. Oh, slavery was so long ago. Let bygones be bygones. But what happens on 9/11? Hey, remember 9/11. Remember it.
Can't forget the Holocaust.
Remember it. You can't forget that either. Remember that. Matter of fact, I think it was 3,000 people their lives were taken in 9/11 with the towers. But guess how many people that this country, when they got their revenge, guess how many people they took? Over 3 million.
Then they tossed a lot of them overboard off the ships.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So why should we forget, our oppression, when we was in slavery and all the bad things that happened to us, but you get to remember and make other people remember the things that happened to this country. Remember the Alamo. Remember 9/11. Remember Pearl Harbor. Like they want you to remember this because, that's their thing. Slavery? Oh, no, forget that. Oh, forget that. That's why they don't want critical race theory in the schools. They don't want their children to learn what their forefathers did to us. You have a comment?
I was gonna say a good precept that goes that called the nation of Israel, they name like no more remembrance or something like that.
Right. They compare that's Psalms 83. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm about to show you what King Solomon did. And let me ask you a question before we started. Before we get started, let me see.
1 Kings 1:11. I mean, 1 Kings 11.
Come. Do you, you know how many wives that King Solomon had?
I know we have wives or concubines or something. What was it? Wife? Yeah. Thousands of.
Yeah, thousands. Okay. Most High in Christ. Read that. 1 Kings chapter 11. We're gonna start at verse 1.
1 Kings 11:1. But King Solomon loved many strange women.
Right. So King Solomon loved many strange women. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I say, some people, they just love women. A sexual, emotional, whatever kind of attraction it is, they just love women.
Be like
Nah, you be like polite, they gonna put you under the jail. The Most High just might burn you right then. But King Solomon loved women. Was he wrong for that?
oh yeah,
No, he wasn't wrong for that.
But strange women come.
All right, we're gonna keep going though.
Together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomite,
All right, slow down. So it says women, with the daughter of Pharaoh, which was a
Egypt.
Egyptian. Go ahead. Women of the Moabites. You know, the Moabites today is what we would call the so-called Chinese. The Ammonites, or we would call so-called Japanese. The Edomites, or we would call so-called Caucasian. The Zidonians. I think Zidonians are some type of African. And Hittites, African. All right. So these are all the women that he loved. Like, man, I gotta have, you know, like I said, it's like one of the officials. Who I gotta get me a Chinese woman. You know, they do this, they do that. I heard they got sideways boxes. You know, stuff like that. You know, that was the thing that was the myth. You know, at least back in the day. You know that Chinese women, you know, they box for sideways or something like that. So you know, everybody that, especially like everybody that was in the military, you know, black men, Hispanics, you know, when they go dock at these other ports in these other countries, they had to go get them a woman just to test and see. All right, like especially like in Vietnam, man, it's probably a lot of Vietnam, like a lot of Israelites in Vietnam. You know what I'm saying? They got Vietnamese mothers because of, you know, the myth and the excitement of going and sleeping with a different type of race. All right. Go to verse 2.
of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel.
So all those nations that we read in verse 1, of those nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, keep going.
Ye shall not go into them.
We should not go into them. Go ahead.
Neither shall they come into you.
Neither should they come into us. Like, so we shouldn't even try to bond with these people. They shouldn't even try to bond with us. We shouldn't try to go into their clubs or even try to go to their clubs. Like when a black man or Hispanic, well, Hispanic man might get away with it. But if a black man goes into a white club, the music stops. And everybody looking like, what in the hell are you doing here, boy? They know you out of place. But what about us? White man walk in our club, guess what's happening? Hey man, you come to the bar, hey, what's up, white Mike? Give him a nickname and everything, you know, he gonna try to dance and try to do the same dance move, and we gonna pump him up. Go white Mike, go white Mike, go white Mike. You know what I'm saying? White Mike trying his best, trying to be cool and just trying to do our dances and stuff, and we pumping him up. We allow them into our space, but they don't allow us into their spaces like that. Just think about how some of these rich and famous black and Hispanics try to move into these country clubs. Like, everybody know Michael Jordan. Everybody know Michael Jordan. From one end of the earth to the other end. Everybody know who Michael Jordan is. But when Michael Jordan tried to move into, well, he's in there now. But when Michael Jordan first tried to move into his country club, those people in that country club did not want him in there. They fought tooth and nail to get him out of that country club. But since he had enough money and he was that much famous, they finally let him in. But that was it. Ain't no more black people in this neighborhood. Because you know, a lot of they think that once one black person moves into the neighborhood, the value of their properties go down. That's why when black people move further out into those neighborhoods, they move out and go further out. Like, there was a time before when Humble was all white. Humble, Texas, Humble was all white. And then when niggas start, when black people start moving into Humble, they move further out. They move into Katy. And then once black people start moving into Katy, They moving further out. It was a time when Sugarland was all white. Pearland was all white. But once black people start moving into Sugarland, they done move, white people done move further out. Because they don't want to be with us like that. Go ahead.
Now it's to the point where they tired of moving, so they trying to come back and buy.
Right, because you know why? Because we're so focused on moving with them that we forget about the hood. Because we so focused on getting out the hood to where we forget about grandma's house that we grew up in. You know, we get our degrees, we get our money, we get our job, and we move out to Sugarland, we move out to Pearland, we move out to Rosenberg, we move wherever, but we forget about grandma's house in Fifth Ward. You know, we don't pay no taxes on it, we don't pay nothing on it. I don't care, I'm moving. And then all they do is, oh, this property only $60,000 to buy? Well, let me buy that. And then somebody, that's how much that one costs too? Let me buy that one. And that's what you call gentrification. Because all they do is just buy from us cheap. And they move back in, or they build stuff on it to where it's too high for us to live in. Like in my neighborhood, they got a Whole Foods like at the end of the neighborhood. You know, if you ever been to Whole Foods, one apple costs $7. You know what I'm saying? Like a box of cereal gonna run you $13. Now you know us, we not shopping at nothing like that. Not at all. You go in there and think you can go in there and get some groceries with $100, you're gonna come out there with 5 items. And so what happened is, you know, and what happened with that, like my high school government economics teacher, you know, he was an Edomite. He told us this. He said, in 20 years, you know, you're gonna work so. He said you're gonna work so hard to get your degrees and get your good job, and you're gonna try to move out into nice neighborhoods. And in 20 years, the property that you're on now, you're gonna forget about. And then, you know, my people are gonna come back in and buy it for cheap and build nice things on it and push you out of your own neighborhood. Now, I'm from the hood. And then when I'm driving my hood and I see Edomite women running around with their dogs, they running around in the neighborhood with their dogs. And when they go home, like it's one house, it's one real nice house that an Edomite lady stays in. Right next to it used to be a trap house. Like it's nice home, trap house, nice home, trap house, or abandoned house. And I'm looking like, does she know where she at? And she just running while, you know, her little Shih Tzu or Pomeranian dog just, you know, running with her in the hood, in any hood. And they feel comfortable doing it. All right, well, let's get back on subject. So keep going. For surely
they will turn away your heart after their God.
For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. So, you know, you marry an Edomite woman, and whatever they worship, or if they do yoga, you know, Edomites, they do all type of things. They believe in all type of stuff. You might turn into a hippie. You know, hippies, they don't believe, they just believe in smoking and getting high and flowers. All right? Like, you start turning, like you start losing yourself as a man, really. Like Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams was in college, he was one of the best running backs in college. He went to the University of Texas. When he ended up getting drafted to the NFL, he played for the New Orleans Saints and Miami Dolphins. Very good running back. one of the best running backs in the NFL have ever seen. He ended up marrying an Edomite woman, his first wife. His first wife, he ended up turning into a dope fiend, well, a weed head. He turned into so much of a weed head to where he told the NFL, I don't want to renew my contract. I'd rather smoke weed. Right. Like he'd rather smoke weed. So he didn't renew his contract, or they didn't sign him again to the NFL. You know, and you making, you know, as a running back, a top tier running back, you making at least at that time at least $10-15 million a year. And he said, I'd rather smoke weed. I'd rather go to the mountains or to the Everglades or whatever and just smoke my life away. And then that woman ended up leaving him. Of course, you know, it probably took a lot of his money. And he ended up marrying another Edomite. This Edomite, I don't know what she had on him, but instead of her taking on his last name, he took on her last name. You know, his name was no longer Ricky Williams. I think his real name was like Eric, but they just called him Ricky. So his name was no longer Ricky. It was he went back to Eric, whatever her last name was. So he denounced his last name. He denounced his father's last name and took on her last name. So her father's last name. So if they have children, his children's last name is going to be her father's last name instead of his father's last name. That's what happened. Another one, Lamar Odom. Everybody know who Lamar Odom is. He married one of the Kardashians. Guess what happened to him? He turned into a crackhead. That's what happened to us when we do things that the Lord told us not to do. All right, he turned into a crackhead, and it's a lot of other you know, athletes, especially our athletes, like our wealthy people. You know, they're so quick to marry, you know, outside of our race because, oh yeah, black women they talk back and they do this, they do that. But they don't know, you know, our enemies, they're subtle, you know, their words are smoother than butter, like the scripture says. So they're gonna gut you from the inside out. Yeah, they'll make you that cheese sandwich or whatever you like. Okay, then. Yeah, but just know when you get that $20 million contract, 13 million of it is hers. And she's gonna make sure of it. Yeah, so she'll risk, you know, getting taken away from her dad's will. If you go date a black man, I'm taking you out the will. Oh, that's fine, Father, because I'm gonna go date a $1 million athlete. And I'm gonna trap him. Like the Kardashians did nothing but be whores. Their father was the lawyer that helped OJ. You know what I'm saying? That's it. But the daughters, nothing. They were whores. If I can say that, it's lucky. They were promiscuous women.
They were harlots.
Harlots. Most times, hear that brother here. That's a perfect word. That's a biblical word. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Solomon clave to these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines.
Right, so he loved him some women. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. Go ahead. Oh, Slaki. Go ahead now. Keep on.
And his wives turned away his heart.
And his wife turned away because keep going. Slaki.
For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods,
Mm-hmm.
and his heart was perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father.
So at first, you know what I'm saying, Solomon, because you know when Solomon prayed for, he didn't pray for the riches that he had. He didn't pray. He prayed for wisdom. You know what I'm saying? He was like, well, like, Lord, give me the wisdom to run, you know, to run your people, to operate your people how you want me to do it. And so the Most High was like, okay, that is a wise request. So I'm gonna give you this wisdom. I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of wisdom, so much wisdom to where kind of made him stupid. Now that's just my opinion. I'm just saying. But gave him so much wisdom, and on top of that, I'm gonna give you the riches. I'm gonna give you the worldly thing. Solomon had so much money to where he probably, he just had so much money. All right. Like he had so much money, Mayweather's poor to him. And everybody know Mayweather got money. All right. Verse 5.
For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians,
Mm-hmm.
and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
Mm-hmm.
And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did his father David.
Mm-hmm. So he eventually he started, you know, compromising with his wives. You know, she's so bad and she looks so, you know, so good, man. What you be doing? You know, I serve the God of this and God of that. Well, I'm gonna go with you, baby. You know, and keep going.
Then Solomon built an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab,
Mm-hmm.
in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise did he for all his strange wives.
Right. So all his wives, he ended up building temples, or he ended up building altars for their gods. Now, keep in mind, you have to go back. Now, Solomon knew the law. Solomon knew what the first commandment was, which was,
You shall have no other gods before me.
"Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Give that brother a hand. So, with knowing that, you know what I'm saying, he still went ahead and he built altars for you know, the different beliefs and entities of his wives, and he forgot all about the Lord. Just think about it. You got 700 wives, 300 concubines. That's 1,000 people, and if you got one woman, you know how tough it is to deal with one woman. Babe, I want to do this. Babe, I want to do that. Babe, I want to cut my hair. Babe, I want to do it. Babe, I want to do that. Babe, all right, slow down, man. One thing at a time. He got 700. Well, he got 1,000 women to deal with. Babe, I want to build a temple to my. Babe, I want to build a temple. Babe, I want to build a temple too. All right, well, let me have my men go ahead, build these temples for y'all, build these altars, and then I'll come, you know, and come with y'all and, you know, worship and pray with y'all at y'all stuff. Okay, got you. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. But let me ask you a question though. What happened to Solomon?
He said,
What happened to him? Well, what happened? What happened to the kingdom?
he lost it.
Did he lose it?
It was taken from him.
Was it taken from him? Well, the punishment was he took the kingdom from his son. So that's how the kingdom ended up splitting between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So, the southern kingdom is Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, which is the blacks, Jamaicans. Judah is what we call blacks or African American. Benjamin is Trinidadian, Jamaicans, some other Caribbean countries, and Levi, is the Haitians. All right, so those three tribes made up the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was the other 10 tribes, which were Isupk, which was so-called the Mexicans. What else? I can't see them. Reuben, which was like the Seminole Indians. Gad was like the North American Indians, and so on and so forth. The Guatemalans, so on and so forth. So those are the northern kingdom. So those make up pretty much the Hispanic tribes. All right. So that's when the kingdom split. So now you have two different kings. All right. So that's what ended up happening with Solomon. But so he didn't get punished. So did he get punished for having all those wives?
He got punished because of serving other gods.
Right. He got punished for serving other gods. So he wasn't punished for having 700 wives or 300 concubines. If they were all Israelites, he would have been good because they all served the same God, which is the Most High. So that lets people know that believes in the one wife thing. Of course, we all grew up and was taught that from forever. But the Bible doesn't have any laws against a man having more than one wife. All right. Drop that and give me Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 27.
This is an Bible.
Come. You got one?
For blessed is the wood whereby righteousness comes. But that
Wisdom of Solomon,
chapter 14, verse 7.
27.
For the worshiping of idols not to be named in the beginning, the cause and the end of all evil.
So once you stop worshiping all these idols, that's the end of all evil. But what happens when you worship these other idols? You know what I'm saying? The anger of the Lord is kindled against you. That's why that's why, again, like when we was in the wilderness and we made that golden calf, that was evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord had it destroyed. And then again, when those serpents, when the Lord sent those serpents, to bite them, and they were dying. So what ended up happening is, the Lord told Moses to make that staff with the serpent on it, so whoever look at it will be healed. Correct? So they was looking at that staff with the serpent on it, and they was healed. Guess what happened after that?
They started worshiping.
They started worshiping that staff, thinking that's God. And that's what we do with a lot of things, like the Christian cross. Like, are we supposed to like worship something like that, like a cross like that?
The Bible says not to worship anything made by man.
Right. Either wood or stone, right?
Constantly.
But what is the main token or trinket or whatever that you call in a Christian church? The cross, right? And when you ask a Christian what their cross is, they say, well, this represents Jesus. Everybody got one. And that's number 2 of the 10 Commandments, not making graven images and the likeness thereof of things on the earth or in the heavens or in the sky and in the water. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's 2 things that they all like most of them like to do.
What's
they
that?
like to, like they'll kiss a cross, but they have like a pendant of it,
Right.
point to the sky and like look up. Another thing, like touch their forehead, their chest, and
they do that stuff. You know, a lot that comes from the Catholic Church. And, you know, the Catholic Church is the ones that actually started Christianity. You know, what's his name? Constantine. He was the one that actually he's the one that actually changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday. And that's what the Christians follow. They follow Sunday. All right. And what's crazy about it, like when you say Saturday in Spanish, sábado, Sabbath. Even they knew that the Sabbath was on Saturday. All right. Nehemiah chapter 13. Let's start at verse 25.
What was the book?
Nehemiah.
Chapter 13. Oh, yeah, Nehemiah.
Says 25, sir.
Come.
It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, verse 25. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, You shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves.
Okay. So when Nehemiah said, he said, and I contended with them, like he not necessarily begging him, like, hey man, don't do this. Like to the point to where he was cursing them. And he say he smoked certain, like he was putting hands on, like he was squabbling some of these people to let them know, you know, and plucked off their hair and made them swear. Because what happens when even one person or a group of people sin in a nation? The Lord punishes everybody. You know what I'm saying? So what happened is you know, Nehemiah, he's in charge of the nation. So he has to make sure that everybody is held accountable on following the law. So if like even the smallest law, like, you know, you eating pork, like we got to get you, like when you sin, you had to get up out the nation. Like you couldn't, like if you was a perpetual sinner, like you had to go. If your sin didn't call for you to die, like you had to go. Like we had to get you up out of there, because if we didn't, we allowed you to stay in there, you know, in your sin, you can corrupt other people to sin. And we supposed to be a law-abiding nation and worshiping the Most High and following the law, statutes, commandments, all of them, to where like the minute thing, like because if you would say, oh, we ain't worried about eating pork, you know, the Lord ain't worried about eating pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster, then that means you wouldn't have no problem doing one of the quote unquote big sins, like killing somebody. Oh yeah, I just killed one person, 2 person. He just stepped on my, I just got these J's, man. Come on, man. These dead stock, you know, these are Dorenbeckers, you know, man, they don't come out no more. I just killed one person. Lord ain't gonna. Go ahead.
It was by accident.
Yeah, it was by accident. You know, he was tripping too hard. I just pulled out my gun and just pop. So I mean, if you would, because that's why the scripture says in Matthew, what's that? Matthew 15. That one jot and one tittle. But it says if you break one of these least commandments and teach men so, that you will be called least in the kingdom. Like one thing you don't want to do is be the kingdom of heaven, man. Look, guess what? Because you're gonna be right back where you are right now, or even lower. You know what I'm saying? You will be
Eternity.
right. So you like if you work at McDonald's right now, you know that's been your lifelong career at McDonald's or whatever, or any type of job like that. You're gonna be less than that. You're gonna be the pooper scooper. If that, you might be homeless.
For eternity.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be homeless. Just imagine, you know, because you know this kingdom we in right now is Esau's kingdom. This is the Edomite's kingdom. Like he's in heaven. You ask a white man right now, hey man, how you doing? I'm living in paradise. But then you see a white man that's homeless, like he's always angry. He's mad. Why? Because man, my people, my race of people is at we the top, we running stuff right now, and I'm way at the bottom. That's a hard pill to swallow. If just say for instance, like your family is the richest people on earth. They the richest people on earth. They got all the prestige and everybody know them. They popular and this and that. And then you broke.
Like 50 Cent and his son.
Yeah. But you broke, like, and people looking at you like, hey, your family is such and such now, right? Man, why you barefooted walking around here, bro? Like you be walking around in some gold plated something, but you broke. Like that's how Esau feels right now in his kingdom. But when the kingdom of heaven comes, kingdom of heaven is coming on earth as it is in heaven, like Matthew 6 says. You don't want to be lower than what you are now. Of course, you know, we got some decent jobs now. You know, we can kind of, but we still living check to check. You know, we still, man, once I pay this rent in this car note, man, I don't know about these lights. I like to put something on the lights, but if I put something on the lights, then my phone gonna get cut off. And if my phone get cut off, then I can't, you know, like it's a never ending cycle with, you know, when you live in check to check and going through struggles like that. That's called hell. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they got it to where you make like a certain amount, like you make enough. They make certain rules to where they take as much as they can, so you can't live in like certain places.
Right. They call them tax brackets. You know what I'm saying? Like, the middle class, you know, you would think that the middle class is still like, you know, like living okay, you know, like making $50,000 right now, making $50,000 a year right now, like you're barely making it. You barely making it. Now just imagine the people that's making less than that. You know, making $50,000 a year, you know, you can afford a small apartment. Hopefully you got a cash card that you ain't got to pay no note on. You know, you probably got, you know, a minimum plan cell phone bill. You got the bare minimum of everything. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and if you're under the age of 25, then you're gonna really be going through it, because that's when they gonna raise like the car insurance. And
Right. Well, the car insurance automatically high if you're under 25. That's why a lot of people under 25 get on either their parents or, you know, somebody that's over 25. They get on their insurance because, you know, somebody under 25, you know, they're still considered a liability. You know, people under 25 still like to drive fast, even though people over 25 still speed. But people under 25, they still would consider them have like a reckless mindset. All right. Give it 26, verse 26.
Nehemiah 13:26. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations, where was there no king like him?
Right. So it's saying, pretty much Solomon was one of the best kings we ever had. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm fighting y'all now to not fall by this sin. Because by this sin, our nation split up. That's why blacks and Hispanics, we not like this no more. You know what I'm saying? Like blacks and Hispanics, like we together, but we not together. Like when you go, give me 1 second. Like, are you Mexican, Guatemalan?
No, I was born in it's the ancient word is Teotihuacan, but it's Mexico City.
Okay, so I mean, like, so your father
Mexico.
would be considered Mexican.
Like Mexico, like South Mexico, Mexico.
Okay, no, I'm saying like you'd be considered like a Salvadorian, Mexican, or
No, I'm basically like I'm Mexican, but the land I was born in is Aztec.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Mexican, Aztec land.
I'm talking about in society, or in this society, or according to the gun law, you'd be considered Mexican. All right, so I'm black, or what you would call African American. If me and you were best friends, like we grew up together, like we were best friends, and then something happens to where me and you end up going to prison, me and you can't be best friends anymore, because I have to go with with the black people. You're gonna have to go with the Hispanic people, and
politics.
Right, politics, and because it was taught to us that we're two different people, and a lot of people don't know that during slavery, the Mexican people helped out black people more than anybody. The black people used to escape from the plantations and run to Mexico, and the Mexicans would protect them. They didn't have extradition laws. That was one of the reasons why they went to war with the Alamo in San Antonio. It's all type of evidence in like Mexico City, of those people being Israelites. Just look at the temples. Look at the Mayan temple. Look at those pyramids in Mexico City. Those pyramids are explained like how they are in the Bible. Those same pyramids are the same ones that are pretty much the ones in Egypt too. It wasn't two different people that built those pyramids. It was the Northern Kingdom that built those pyramids in Egypt. So it was pretty much Hispanics that built those pyramids in Egypt. Because Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, we were still in Jerusalem at the time. So we wasn't in captivity at the time. So technically speaking, Hispanics were in slavery before us. All right. So getting back to the subject, give me keep reading that. It was yet among many nations there was no king like him.
Who was beloved of his God and God?
Nah, Salakia, drop that and give me Proverbs chapter 5. I start at verse 17.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verse 17. Let them be only thy own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving pine and pleasant robe. Let her breasts satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love.
All right, well, it says, let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Your significant other is supposed to be somebody of your own kind. All right, like the scriptures say, every beast loveth his kind. Like you don't see lions hanging with gazelles. Like you don't see hyenas hanging with cheetahs. Like you don't see that. All right. Like we have to be our own kind. You know, like we were talking about the movie Jungle Fever. Like it's not natural to see a black person and a white person together. Like even in the movie, like they were showing scenes where hold on one second. You know, like you walk into a restaurant, they walk into a restaurant, and then they might have a black waiter or vice versa or a white waiter, and that waiter's treating them crazy. They got attitudes with them. You know, depending on how evil they are, they'll probably have a cook spitting their food. Just like if you was to see like one of these athletes post a picture of their wife, you know, and they got an Edomite wife, just look at all the comments of them black sisters. He couldn't get him a black woman. He had to go get that old whoop de whoop de whoop, and you know they turn an evil eye towards that brother because he has a wife, you know, not of their nation, because it's not natural to see that. You know, Hispanic people, they stand by it too. Like I'm talking about even to the point to where like I had a friend, you know, like one of my coworkers. He was from Guatemala, and he ended up like his wife now. I think she was I don't know if she was either Mexican or Salvadorian. Like they almost had to elope to get married because like his mother wouldn't talk to him because he was supposed to marry a Guatemalan woman versus a El Salvadorian woman because those two countries didn't even get along together. And that you know that always tripped me out because you know me and my young self, I thought all Hispanics were Mexicans. Like when I see somebody Hispanic, oh yeah, he Mexican. Oh, he Mexican. Until I think I met him and then like one of my neighbors. Like, well, yeah, one of my neighbors, when I was in the world, like we'd speak, you know, hey, my friend, what's going on, you know? And, you know, I was, you know, doing drugs back then, you know, so I let him hit my weed or whatever when I get off work. So one day he said, he was like, you know what, man? I like you, man. I like black people. But I tell you one thing, I don't like white people. I don't like Chinese people. And I don't like Mexican people. And I looked at him like, dude, you Mexican, what you talking about? You don't like your own people. He was like, no, I'm not Mexican, I'm from Honduras. And I was like, that's a difference? You know, I'm stupid, you know, at this time, I'm young and stupid. I was like, man, that's a difference? Like, yeah, you know, it's just, you know, different, like little small cultural differences and this and that. So, you know, fast forwarding to my coworker that's from Guatemala, you know, he further expounded on it. He was like, well, Salvadorians, Guatemalans, they don't like Mexicans because Mexico City or whatever is closer to the U.S. border. So I guess they get more business or benefits being closer to the border versus Guatemala and El Salvador. And so I guess that's some type of beef, or that's why they don't like each other, something like that, that he was explaining to me. Could be something different.
I could just, you want me to, I could just give you a little insight of this school.
Right, go ahead.
Appreciate the word, first of all, but well, I can tell you firsthand, one of the things that especially one of the reasons why like Mexicans, you know, I mean, we don't really get too along with the Central Americans is, first of all, I guess it's kind of like of the genetic, cultural, or moral principle value, because I know that that a lot of Central Americans, they have just a certain way they talk, a certain way they carry themselves, which is really just unclean, and just like they the way they carry themselves and the way they act and the way, you know what I mean, they have, usually the males have this sort of characteristic of kind of being a little bit of what do you call it, like not as perverted, but like they're really like double meaning with their sexuality, especially with the women, and they're just like the way they carry themselves and the way they act. And I know that they kind of are zealous over the Mexican people because, example, when Guatemalan or Central American, by the time they get to the United States, they're already illegal 3-4 countries. They're illegal in Honduras, they're illegal in Panama, they're illegal in Mexico. So you're already legal 4 times before you get to the United States. The Mexican, you just cross over, you got family. So you just, you know what I mean? So it's just a lot of things, but that's just 2 of the predominant reasons. And then when they cross over, coming from their country, they know that that with the people that takes them through Mexico, they can get mistreated bad. They gonna get taxed, they gonna get beat up, they gonna like get all this. Automatically, there's gonna be some sort of prejudice that he's from Guatemala, he's from Honduras. Man, beat his ass or just taxing like 2,000 more pesos or so. So it's just like you know what I mean? And then like the Hispanic culture, unfortunately, got this sort of like predetermined, preconceived idea that they can't see someone doing better than them because they're gonna talk down on in between themselves. You know what I mean? So this engraved mindset they got.
Right. So like even within the Hispanic nations, there's quarrels. So now just imagine when the entire Northern Kingdom, which is all those Hispanic nations, are with the Black nations. Like, so now you really have quarrels and stuff went, in between. So now that's why I was saying, like, if me and you were best friends and then we ended up going to prison, like we can't be best friends no more because now you have to cleave to the Hispanic side, even though they're all from, like all those quarrels that you were explaining, they're out the door in prison. You know what I'm saying? So now y'all one nation, but now I have to go to the Black side, even though we have beefs with the Crips Bloods and blah, blah, this and blah, I'm still I have to go to the Black side and be with them. I can't be seen like hanging with you, like doing business with you or anything like that. And that's one of the problems that as a nation that we have, because we've not been taught our true culture that's in this Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of Hispanics don't know, and there's a lot of Blacks that don't know, like, that we are all the same people. Like, we're all in the same hoods, barrios, reservations. Like, we all still are under our oppressor's foot and neck, man. I mean, under our oppressor's foot. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't own, nothing, in this city or, nothing like that. In the Hispanic community, they do good of having their, the business and everything, but they don't own the buildings. They're still getting overcharged to rent. Like if they have a taqueria, they're getting overcharged to rent their building. So they're not thriving as a business because the more food that they sell, they have to give most of that money to the damn landlord. So they really just survive and just to, make ends meet. And same thing with us. Like we getting degrees and doing this and doing that, and we still considered a lesser people. Versus our oppressor. Like Edomite, he can be a college dropout or a high school dropout and get a six-figure job like that. Us, we gotta have 3, 4, 5 degrees just to even get an interview. And sometimes, we so oppressed to where, like, even if you get that position, you're gonna end up having to train one of those high school dropout Edomites to be your boss. Even though you got all the tools, all the skills, all the experience, they're still gonna bring the owner's frat brother, his son need a job. He's a recovering drug addict, whatever, but he need a job. So, just make him executive over your company. Yeah, just clean him up and just bring him over, and I'm gonna have Yon train him up so he can be the boss. But you got all the skills and experience to be the boss, but they don't want to pay you for it. So they're gonna give him the six-figure salary to be your boss, but you're gonna end up doing all the work. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they got us like it's to the point where we so low in this country. If a brother or sister if you making 50, 60,000 a year, you think you made it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But we're making $50,000, $60,000 do. It's gonna quickly humble you, because once you start paying for stuff, you be like, man, on paper it look good, but I'm still living check to check. Now you might be a little more comfortable than others, but you still not living like you can't take 2-3 days off and just go run in the neighborhood with your dog like that. Like you can't afford, like, I gotta save this vacation time for when I really need it. You can't just call off and be like, oh no, I'm not coming to work today. And because you need every dollar that you can make. You the one that's doing the overtime. Like, I don't know no Edomites that just do overtime like that. Like, you calling begging for overtime. But making $50,000, $60,000, like a teacher starting off makes close to $60,000 a year now. A teacher. Now you would think that me personally, I think a teacher should be making at least 100, especially dealing with them bad kids, man. I mean, I'm in the school district like that, and that's a whole different monster trying to deal with other people's kids, especially the ones that treat school as a daycare, or a babysitter, but a teacher now, starting off, makes between $58,000-$60,000. Now you would think, that's pretty good, you know what I'm saying? They well off. But they still at that borderline of being poor. You have to be an excellent money manager, to survive being a teacher, especially when you've been to school to be an engineer or a doctor or an architect. Those degrees saying that you're supposed to start off making $75,000, $80,000, maybe $90,000 a year. But then, especially like when you go to black colleges, HBCUs, they always teach you or tell you, okay, you might have a degree in architecture or in biology or something, but get your teacher certification as a backfall. So now, you graduate from college with your architect degree. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna apply for Lockheed Martin. I'm gonna apply for this, apply for that. And I'm, starting off making $75,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. But then you don't get that job, so now you have to go. So now you have to rely on the teacher certification that's going to start you off at $50,000, $55,000, maybe $60,000 a year. Now you 20, 22, 23 years old, coming out of college. Now you just took a spiritual $20,000 cut in your head, $30,000 cut in your head, Now you gotta deal with some kids that you never, you probably don't even like kids, but now you have to start teaching kids for less money. When I went to college to sit behind the office and draw this and draw that and make $90,000-$100,000 a year. That's what's going on in the school system now. You have a lot of teachers that are teachers not because they wanted to be teachers, it's because they use that teacher certification as a backfall. Like when I was in school, we had teachers that went to school to be teachers. Like they were education majors. Now you have a bunch of architect, business major. If you're a business major, business management major, and you just so happen to be a teacher, you're gonna be a math teacher off the rip. Because business majors, they take a lot of math classes. So if you get a teacher certification and you say that and your degree is in business management, oh yeah, we got this 12th grade math 12th grade calculus class waiting for you right now. Just go look at a district career post, the job post. You're gonna see a bunch of openings for math teachers. You're gonna see a bunch of openings for English teachers and science teachers. So if you're a biology major, you're gonna be a science teacher. Business and architecture, you're gonna be math. All right. Let's keep going. Let me see. Drop that and give me Ezra chapter
10,
Come,
verse 10.
verse 2.
Verse 2. Two and 3.
Come.
This is the book of Ezra, chapter 10, verse 2. And Shechaniah, the son of Jehiel, one of the sons of Elam, answering said unto Ezra, we have trespassed against our God, and have taken strange wives of the people of the land. Yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing. Now therefore, let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the wives, and such as are born of them, according to the counsel of my Lord, and of those that tremble at the commandment of God or of our God, and let it be done according to the law.
All right, so now these people, these group of men, they all married strange wives. All right, so, but it was a point in time to where, they were trying to make amends, with the Most High, so that the Most High can save the nation. So they was like, well, let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the heathen wives. You know what I'm saying? So that they can, so that the Most High can, smile upon the nation of Israel again. All right. And I'm talking about even the children. Like, I mean, we'll get rid of our children as long as the Lord comes save us again. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of mindset, you need to have. Well, really, you need to have, to stay away from them. You know what I'm saying? Because, go ahead.
Does this still apply?
What's that?
Like if you have a child like a heathen, like you stop talking to them and the child?
No. If you, I mean, that's your child regardless. That child, like if you're a man, that child is still gonna be an Israelite.
Like let's just say this, like a woman instead of a man. The woman's an Israelite, but the father is a heathen.
If the father's a heathen, I mean, she's gonna have to stay with him. She's gonna have to stay with him until he either he passes away or he put her away. But as far as her, by being an Israelite, she has to stay with her. Now, if she ever get the truth, what I'm saying, she's the only one that can come to the school. Like the child can't come because that child is a heathen, because you are what your father is. So if you're an Israelite and you ended up having a son or a daughter by a heathen, like, yeah, you can come to class, but you're gonna have to find a babysitter, because that child is not allowed here, because that's a heathen child.
But the heathens come being who the heathens specifically are who again?
The heathens
come being who?
Heathens are any nation that are not Israelites.
Oh.
Right. So, but like I said, so if you were a man, but you have a heathen wife, and y'all have children, the children can come because they are your seed. But the wife has to stay home. You still have to love her. You still have to treat her as your wife. I mean, that's your wife. I mean, you can't divorce her unless, she passes away or she leaves you. Go ahead.
So what?
Wouldn't that be breaking the commandments?
Breaking what commandment?
One of Deuteronomy 7:3.
I mean, the deed is done. Yeah, you broke it already. I mean, you just have to suffer with it now.
I know that, but like,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't be knowing that that's a commandment, so when they do it, they not aware of it. So when you bring it to their knowledge, like, don't you supposed to like stop committing any sin?
Yeah, but you're gonna sin again if you stop doing that. But why? You're not supposed to divorce. That's a law too. The original design of the law, you're not supposed to divorce.
So it's pretty much like they just gotta bear that iniquity.
Yeah, you gotta bear that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have to suffer through that. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that stops you from being a husband, or her stop from being a wife. You know what I'm saying? That was something that you did without knowing. What the scripture says, the Lord winks at your ignorance. I'm paraphrasing, but even still, you know what I'm saying? Like just how, like I was explaining earlier on how, it was not really common to date outside your race, because your family gonna look at you different. So you kind of know it was kind of a little off to date somebody that wasn't, what I'm saying, of your people, of your kind. All right. I got a bunch of more scripture, but I think we do have the moral or the point of the story. Let's see. All right. Well, I mean, we can. Yeah, I got a few more scriptures, but now we can stop right there. So like I was saying, like the title says, like jungle fever is a sin, and it's a sin because you're marrying a heathen nation that's going to turn your heart away from the Lord. Either through you serving their gods, you know, your whole lifestyle change. You might end up being a drug addict, all types of things. And you, especially like if you marry in a Edomite, you'll never get the respect of that nation. You're always going to get persecuted. You know what I'm saying? Because why? That nation thinks that they're superior to us. So that's why a lot of our men, were lynched, back then, because ask like Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry, some if y'all know the story of him, Chuck Berry was put in jail because a couple of Esau women lied on him. They pursued him because he was a star. And Chuck Berry, if you don't know who Chuck Berry is, if you know who Elvis Presley is, Elvis Presley stole his entire swag, like his entire persona. That's who Chuck Berry is. Chuck Berry was black. All right. So by Chuck Berry being a star, he got caught with some heathen women, and of course, they cried wolf. And when they cried wolf, of course, the police authorities at that time were all Edomites, so they took their side and arrested him. Most High in Christ, they didn't kill him, but they did take him to jail. And he spent a while in prison. And while his heathen counterpart took his entire singing style, the way he danced, the way he moved, and everything, and made millions. To this day, probably. All right, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so if an Israelite marry a heathen without knowing and come to the truth, they pretty much doomed.
What you mean they don't?
Because a heathen is not going to keep Israelite customs.
They don't have to.
I get that, but if you living with them, you understand how that's gonna. Eventually, you're gonna start falling back into the things that you used to do because you're around them. It's like.
Well, if you're in the truth, and then that's still, of course, they're heathens, so they can't come. You're gonna get counsel on how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then, if you stay true to the Israelite culture, the scripture says that, if they be pleased to dwell with you, then you can't put them away. But if they don't, if they don't believe in what you're doing, let the unbelieving depart.
So then it's okay for you to pretty much get rid of them.
No, you don't initiate getting rid of them at any time. If that heathen person chooses to leave you, they can go.
So pretty much you just talk about the truth around them, because eventually they're gonna depart.
Now, you don't want to talk about the truth around them to try to make them leave, because you're in the wrong spirit. Now you personally trying to, get rid of your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, at one point in time, you liked it.
But the Most High said the other nations are like spittle.
Right. Right. But you didn't know that at first. You didn't know that at first. But now that you know, man, you got to live with that. You know what I'm saying? Like a person that was in gang life before they found the truth, and they get shot, they got to live with that bullet wound in their leg. They still got to live with that wound. You don't just come into the truth and then all your bullet holes go away, all the pain go away. Nah, you gotta live with it. Now, but you're in the truth now, you know what I'm saying? But you still gotta live with them wounds.
That's a tough topic.
Not necessarily.
The thing is, like, you teaching it, like, the white man and devil.
Right.
But yet you would tell somebody to stay with that devil.
Why would I tell them to stay with the devil?
Because they was with him before they came to the truth.
But why would I tell you to stay with him once you're in the truth?
Because the Bible said.
So why are we arguing? Why is that a tough subject?
Because Christ was only speaking to like Israelites when he came.
Right. But he told Israelites you can't divorce.
But I'm pretty sure like he was speaking to like Israelites that was married to Israelites.
He was talking to everybody. It don't matter who you married at the time. All right, we're gonna this is Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, and we are led by the amazing Commander General YAHANNA. With that, we're going to pass the class over to Officer Yakubov for the security announcement.
We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York.
Talk up,
Sir,
talk up a little bit.
come. Rule for new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has a particular interest in a person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, a brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. The book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21. The book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 through 10, which means 10th in the Hebrew, Masharah, 10% of every penny, of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or the teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, non-mandatory. What's the amount you would like? Upcoming holy convocations. Memorial Bowl blowing of trumpets. First day of the 7th month, Friday, 15th of September, 2023. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verses 24 through 25. If anyone wants to become a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. These are security now.
All right, just like he just read in a security announcement that we do have a feast day coming up, which is Friday. So if you're in the Houston area, and if you're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you're welcome to come celebrate this feast day, which is one of the Lord's high holy days. You know what I'm saying? Don't waste your energy celebrating these pagan holidays when you can serve the Lord and celebrate one of the holidays that the Lord has set for us that's written in the scriptures. So if you're in the Houston area, we're located at 7701 Belford Avenue, Houston, Texas, 77061. The feast will start at sundown. Sundown should be around 7:30 or 7:45. We actually be here about 6. So we can get everything situated, and so we'll be ready to go. All right, and you can bring your kids, bring your friends, anybody. It's open to all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right, and with that, Majim, which means to stand. We'll give a courteous salute to the brothers and the sisters. Men of Israel, Majim Shabbat, Majim, Rock. YAHANNA, 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 Saul, face the sisters. Men of Israel, Majim Shabbat, Majim, Rap, Yahweh Shemal Azam Bashem, Yahweh, YAHANNA, dismiss.